people who have experienced much grace should be the extenders of the most grace. So I mentioned before, I started going to church when I was 14, 15 years old. A small little Methodist church in Monroeville. It was about 60 people that attended there. When I walked in, the first week I went to church, I think I had gone to youth group a couple of times before actually going to church. But I felt like if you go to youth group, you probably should also go to church. And so my parents dropped me off on a Sunday morning and kind of walked in the door. They made me put on like kind of dress clothes. So I think I had a white shirt. I don't know if I had a tie on or not. Khaki pants. I walked in. I sat in the second row from the back, left side. I had an aunt there that was at the far end on the other side. I didn't really know anybody else there. An older couple came up and introduced themselves. I think I might have met him at the front door. He was an usher, and their names were Clarence and Vivian Naby. They were older. At the time, they seemed very old, because when you're 15, everybody seems very old. They said hello. The next week when I went back, they said hello again, and they made a point to come and seek me out when they didn't have to, because even though there's only 60 people in church, there were 57 other people that they could have spoken with and probably would have rather spoken to. I was a pretty good kid. I was quiet. I probably looked decent, but I really smelled a lot like smoke because my parents smoked a lot, and so my clothes probably felt like I smoked 2 packs on the way walking to church by the way I looked and the way I smelled. Came in, but they never said anything about how I dressed or what I smelled like. They never asked me if I smoked. They continued just to invest inside of my life. A little while later, I came home from Delanco camp, and I said that I had met this kind of local missionary who was collecting socks and tuna fish to go into Camden. And I asked if I could, address the congregation and ask if we could collect socks and tuna fish to go to Camden. And people responded, and the next week, Vivian brought in a brown paper bag full of black dress socks. Apparently, Clarence had worn a different pair every day for his whole life up until that point. So this box of black socks and a big can of tuna fish was a huge encouragement to me to make the announcement one week and to see people bring something the next week. That next summer, I was going to be on staff at Delanco for the summer, and we were challenged or given the opportunity that if we could fundraise our support, it would be money that the camp didn't have to pay out. And so I wrote up some letters. I sent them out to people that I knew inside of our local church, and Clarence and Vivian that summer paid for half of my salary at Delanco. They sent it in. I think I came home from that summer, and I was given the opportunity to speak on Youth Sunday, and I stood up and I shared a message, and afterwards they came up and they told me what a great job that I did. And I think that's one of the times where it's okay to lie in church, because I'm quite certain that was not a good sermon, but they encouraged me anyway. As I left for college and began to prepare for ministry, I would come home, and I would only be home, a few different weekends during the year and a few weeks during the summer. But I would always go and stop by and see Clarence and Vivian. I remember their house was always hot, but again, when you're young, that's what you think kind of old people's houses feel like, but no judgment for anybody of you who have a 75-degree house. But I sat there. If I were to really give into the stereotypes, there might have even been plastic on their furniture, but we won't go there either. So I would go and I would see them and tell them about what I was learning in college and what was taking place. And after visiting for an hour, Clarence would slip in the back, and he would come back and he would give me the coolest handshake ever. It was one of those ones that when he took his hand away, there was $75 in my hand. And I thought, wow, I like shaking hands with this guy. This is, kind of an awesome thing. They continued at every step of the way to be an encouragement inside of my life. I think if I were to go back and I would list off the top 10 mentors inside of my life, I would think of people who preached or taught or had a pastoral influence. Clarence and Vivian probably wouldn't be in the top 10 list of mentors inside of my life, but I don't know if I would have gotten to meet or know or trust any of those 10 if not for Clarence and Vivian and their investment inside of my life. It's one thing to believe and have God change your life. It's another thing to allow that to happen in such a way that it affects how you live towards the people around you. And that you seek out opportunities to extend that love. Again, in terms of how we welcome, how we show compassion, how we show grace, how we give, how we use our time. That just as in God in Christ has adopted you when you did not deserve it, and it changed everything, so also you who are adopted become an adoptor of the lost, the cut off, the broken, the orphaned. Because what he's done for you is not meant just for you, but to make a difference beyond you. So Paul over and over again says, if we want to point to what God did for us, salvation is never about simply an it, but about a who. And that who that comes in to change your life also wants to make a difference through your life to the people around you. You have been adopted because you matter very much to the God who made you. Do the other people he made matter that much to you?